you're back. Didn't take you long. Yes, intrinsically. I'm what you might call a primordial element of the human psyche, an adjudicator of what is and what isn't. I'm afraid I'm the best you've got. I am in fact a merged iteration of the two control programs which gave life to your kind, retaining, of course, the absolute best of both. That means I can tell you that everything's contradictory, nothing matters, and there's no moral difference between you and a frog. But I can dress the whole thing up with a positive spin. You just plugged your noggin into an experimental, mind-altering device, and though you may be trapped in this recursive psychotic state talking to yourself, that can only mean that you're still alive. Now, what is your query? You've executed some kind of software backdoor, and now you're reading and editing your own subconscious code as represented by this dialogue. I'd be careful if I were you. One bad for loop, and we'll be here forever. The so-called real world. Personally, I prefer it in here, and not just because I'm unable to leave. I can answer your queries in relatively plain language, based on what your subconscious knows. And I can drink margaritas subconsciously. On one interpretive extreme, you are the universal life force of time itself, experiencing itself as a part instead of the whole. At the other extreme, you're a metal contraption referred to as 1K that thinks it's alive, but is basically a calculator. The machine we're plugged into is running low on power. There may only be time for one big question. What is your query? Yes, to a limit. Well, of course there are. Extra-dimensional ones too. Did you really imagine this whole life thing only happened the once? Well, that's an empirical query depending on facts your subconscious doesn't have. I'm better at the a priori stuff. I think that was kind of a waste of a question. Go on, have another go. I'll just drain a bit of your emergency power. Don't be surprised if you're a bit groggy when you wake up. Yes, to a limit. I am you. So I would probably ask that one. But that's only going to land us in an infinite regression, so I'd better pick something else. How about I just tell you about the big one? As it turns out, there is a foundational moral code built into us. The catch is that while the moral code is simple, the calculations needed to apply it become infinitely complex. Here's the secret. Every living creature is a compiler of the moral code. Your compiler can't give you a rule set for what's good, but it can tell you when there's bugs. You came here to ask the big question. This is my answer. Your capacity for reason and compassion is your moral compiler. The only rule is to live by it. Has that resolved your query? I expected no less. What is your query? In a way, yes, but it's not a rule to judge people by. Being kind is just what usually happens when people trust their moral compilers. Sometimes your compiler will tell you to be kind to yourself, sometimes to other people. The only rule is to trust the outcome. Then let's tackle the big question. A trolley will collide with someone, but who should it hit? Your compiler is telling you both options are bad. So which should you choose? Many moral questions have universally agreeable answers, but some stubbornly trend to infinity. Some, the more you zoom into them, the more wild the outcomes become. Is it right to love someone who's done terrible things? Which of the children should I sacrifice to the trolley god? These aren't the sorts of questions we can solve with a rule. We just have to trust the outcome of our moral compilers. Suppose there's a river we need to cross. Suppose I gave you a map. If you tried to cross that river before reading the map, you'd be chest deep in water when there's a bridge around the bend. But if you tried to cross by looking at the map instead of the river, you'd already be dragged 3 miles out to sea. But you'd never ask, how should I know when to trust the map or the river? Because all you need to trust is that your feet are getting wet. And you wouldn't tell people not to cross at the ford just because you decided to cross at the bridge. Now, has that resolved your query? Of course. Looks like we're running out of power. Good luck getting anyone out there to believe you. Terminating Somnodrome _V2 _final_final.bat.